are taking flight.
Ladies and gentlemen, please rise for the processional. The processional is led today by our base bearer, Dr. Raja Maza, adjunct faculty for the College of Business. Dr. Maza is carrying the Now entering are the candidates for master, faculty, and associate degrees. Presentation of colors by the Naval Air Technical Training Center, Performing Unit Color Guard, and the singing of the national anthem by the Naval Air Technical Training Center, Performing Unit Choir.
say, can you see by the dawn's early light what so proudly we hailed at the twilight's last gleaming, whose broad stripes and bright stars through the perilous fight o'er the ramparts we watched were so gallantly streaming. Ever on its red glare, the most bursting cannon gave proof to thine eye that our flag was still there. Oh, stay does that star-spangled banner yet wave o'er the land of the free and the hope of life brave.
Please be seated. Thank you to the Naval Air Technical Training Center Performing Unit Color Guard and Choir. Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Henry Ponciano, and I'm the Dean of Students for Embry Riddle Aeronautical University Worldwide Campus. On behalf of the platform party and the faculty, it is my distinct honor to welcome you to the 2024 commencement ceremony here in Pensacola, Florida, at the incredible National Naval Aviation Museum. At this time, I would like to introduce you to our stage guest for this afternoon. Please hold your applause until everyone has been recognized. Members of the platform party, please stand and remain standing as I call your name. Dr. Marjan Maza, adjunct faculty for the College of Business in Maceburg. Dr. Alexander Zieslaw, Dean for the College of Arts and Sciences. Dr. Ken Witcher, Dean for the College of Aviation. Dr. Manish Sharma, Dean for the College of Business. Captain Tim Kinsella, Jr., United States Navy, retired, and our commencement speaker. And Dr. John Whitred, Chancellor for the Embry Riddle Worldwide Campus. Thank you. Please be seated. At this time, please stand as Mr. Jim Pippin comes forward to offer the invocation.
Let us pray. Wise and gracious one, we ask your blessing upon the students, faculty, and staff of Embry Riddle Aeronautical University. We have been called to the high task of seeking knowledge, promoting ethics, and seeking growth in mind, body, and spirit. We give thanks for the gift of the graduates here today and the ways in which they have made this university a better place for having been here. We ask that you grant the students and family joy and satisfaction as they see their dreams of graduation fulfilled this day. We ask this in the confidence of your grace. Amen.
Please be seated. Thank you, Mr. Graduates, we are gathered here today to celebrate your great achievement of completing your program of study. We know that it's been exciting, challenging, rigorous, and fulfilling. We also know that you have not made this journey alone. Some of the faculty who have guided, mentored, and taught you from your first class to your capstone are here today in person to celebrate. Distinguished faculty, please stand and be recognized. Thank you. Please be seated. The dedicated staff who have helped and advised you, mapped out your journey today, are here to celebrate. Staff, please stand and be recognized. Thank you. Please be seated. And finally, the most honored guests, your family and friends who have supported your journey on this path are celebrating you today. Graduates, please stand and acknowledge your families and their support. Thank you. Please be seated. At this time, it is my honor to welcome Dr. John Watrett, Chancellor for Embry Riddle Aeronautical University Worldwide, to the podium to officially open the commencement ceremony.
On behalf of the Board of Trustees of Embry Riddle Aeronautical University, it is my pleasure to declare this 2024 commencement ceremony now open. Welcome and congratulations. We truly are thankful to be together on this day of celebration. Graduation is the most anticipated event of the year, not just for the feeling of excitement that comes with completing your degree, but to recognize each of you is here today because of your commitment and determination to push yourselves towards greatness. Like all of you, in 1926, two men aspired to greatness. T. Higby Embry, an entrepreneur, and John Paul Riddle, a barnstormer, launched the Embry Riddle Company that taught flight specialized in airmail delivery and coordinated aircraft sales. After a series of mergers and acquisitions, the Embry Riddle Company can be traced to what is now known as American Airlines. After the mergers, Embry did retire, but Riddle, whose passion for aviation was unwavering, founded a new opportunity. He took on a new partner, John McKay, and together they established the Embry Riddle School of Aviation in 1939, located in Miami, Florida. As a school of aviation, it thrived and grew, but as so often happens throughout history, war interrupted. When Pearl Harbor was attacked, Riddle and McKay knew what they could offer. Without hesitation, they put their full support behind aiding the Allied war efforts by training cadets to be pilots and providing mechanics and technicians. They also established a presence in Sao Paulo, Brazil, in support of related efforts. Eventually, Embry Riddle became one of the first institutions approved to educate veterans under the GI Bill. It wasn't until Jack Hunt was named president in 1963 that the school, then named Embry Riddle Aeronautical Institute, moved from Miami, Florida to Daytona Beach, Florida. In fact, in 1965, the move took place over a single weekend, known as Operation Bootstrap. 31 trucks relocated Embry Riddle to Daytona Beach, Florida, and that is where it has been ever since. In 1970, 2 years after earning Southern Association of Colleges and Schools accreditation, the name was changed to Embry Riddle Aeronautical University and has not stopped growing. With 2 residential campuses in Daytona Beach, Florida and Prescott, Arizona, and the worldwide campus with over 100 locations in the United States, Europe, Asia, and online, this university, your university, continues to promote excellence in aviation, aerospace, and space. Like your alma mater, you have grown beyond where you started. Today, we honor more than 60 graduates from across the United States. Though you come from different places, you share common traits: a love for learning, a commitment to service, and a desire to innovate. On this day, we applaud you and all that you have accomplished. Earning a degree from Embry Riddle Aeronautical University, the world's premier aviation and aerospace institute, is not easy. Our programs are highly challenging. The demands on the students, whether studying aeronautics, business, engineering, or safety and security, are rigorous, and you have been successful. I commend you for your dedication. Your perseverance will serve you well as you move forward. You are now part of an elite community of Embry Riddle alumni, and each of you will be Eagles forever. Now I'm honored to introduce our commencement speaker, a highly accomplished individual, retired United States Navy captain and former commanding officer for Naval Air Station Pensacola. Tim Kinsella, Jr., raised in Dublin, Ireland, he joined the University of West Florida as the executive director of the Ice Stop Whitkin Piers and Overhorse Center for Leadership, following more than 33 years of military service. During his naval career, he made numerous operational deployments, including serving as commanding officer of the carrier-based helicopter squadron, as White House liaison to the Secretary of the Navy, the Joint Chief of Staff in the Pentagon, and a senior defense planner with NATO. His last assignment on active duty was commanding officer for the Naval Air Station Pensacola, where he led the installation through a terrorist attack, a catastrophic hurricane that caused more than 500 million in damages, and maintained the installation's operational viability through a global pandemic. Despite these challenges, under his leadership, Naval Air Station Pensacola was awarded the U.S. Navy's Installation Excellence Award as a top large U.S. naval base across the globe. He is a graduate of the United States Naval Academy and with a Bachelor of Science in Political Science and the University of San Diego with a Master's in Global Leadership. He is a lifelong learner and is passionate about improving educational opportunities for children. He partnered with local Pensacola State College to create a dual enrollment high school in an economically depressed area and has led a collaborative effort between the Naval Air Station Museum Foundation, Escambia County School District, and the Department of Defense to create an intensive STEM program for Title I fifth graders across 2 counties. He serves on the board of the LifeView Group, Pensacola's Finest Foundation, the Naval Aviation Museum Foundation, and the Blackburn Leadership Institute at the University of Alabama. He also served as chairman of the Mayor of Pensacola's Transition Committee. Over the course of his career, he has received numerous awards, including the Daedalian Award for Distinguished Airmanship, the Naval Helicopter Association Air Crew of the Year Award, the Navy League of the United States John Paul Jones Award for Inspirational Leadership, the Valley Forge Freedoms Foundation George Washington Honor Medal for Public Communications, and the director of the FBI's Community Leadership Award. He and his wife, Jennifer, have 2 young sons. He is a supporter of the Liverpool football team, likes to golf, read history, play guitar, garden, and enjoy photography. He is an accomplished public speaker on leadership and personal wellness, and we are very pleased to have him here today. So please join me in welcoming Captain Tim Kinsella, Jr. Thank you.
That was a mouthful. Holy cow. I always, before I get up to speak, I look around to see who he's talking about, because it doesn't sound like me. Thank you, Chancellor, and distinguished faculty, distinguished guests. Congratulations to our graduates. It's a wonderful, wonderful day. Before I start, my mother is always, I gotta say, hey, Mom, I'm speaking to a group today. She says, who the heck would want to listen to you? So I take a selfie every time I speak in front of people. So we're going to take a selfie. Thanks for indulging. Okay. Anyone seen Top Gun? Yeah, yeah, yeah. Which is better, the first one or the second one? Oh, the first one. Okay. If the first one was better, put your hand up. Okay. If the second one was better, put your hand up. Yeah, it's funny. The older you are, the more you like the first one. I don't know. There's something that is completely inaccurate about that. But there's a lot of things that are very inaccurate about Top Gun. But the thing that is most inaccurate, you talk to any naval aviator, and it's the call sign. Nobody is called Maverick. Nobody. Like the naval aviation call signs are from this thing. It's like a flying around. In naval aviation, you either do something really dumb and you get a call sign for it, or because your name. Like a good friend of mine, his name was Trevor Estes, T. Estes. His call sign was balls. So my call sign, it was lucky. And I wish I could tell you it was from getting lucky with all the girls in the bars in Singapore or some other foreign port, or because I brought the helicopter back. I was a helicopter pilot, and I brought the helicopter back in the dark and stormy night with only one rotor blade or something. But it was because I was named after a leprechaun in the front of a box of cereal. Lucky Charms. And luckily the charms dropped off over the years. So, but today, what we're going to talk about is leadership. Leadership is kind of what I do now, and I've been very, very fortunate to have had a few leadership positions while I was in the Navy. The most profound of which was absolutely my time here at Naval Air Station, Pensacola. We're going to talk about trust a little bit. We'll talk about character. We'll talk about joy. And we're going to talk about love, something we don't talk about enough. And this is my story. Everybody has their own story. Every leader, wherever you are in life, you are a sum of your experiences, of your relationships. You are a sum of all the parts that bring you together to be who you are today. There's no one way of leadership. There's no one way to lead the people. If you go into Amazon and you type in leadership book, you're going to get 50,000, maybe even more, 100,000 books on leadership, and they're all going to say, this is the way to do it. These are the 5 things you've got to do to be a great leader, and I think that's kind of nonsense. Every leadership opportunity is different, every leadership requirement is different, and every person who's in a leadership position brings something different to that. So the thing is, how do you take those things that are within yourself to make you the best leader that you can, to give your people what it is they need? So we're going to talk a little bit about that today. So my story, it starts with my family. All of our story really starts with our family, with our parents, our uncles, our aunts, friends, all those people that raised us to be who we are today. So my dad, he grew up in Dublin, in a pretty, well, everybody was poor in Dublin in those days. He didn't have shoes till he was 6. He left school when he was 12. Because in Ireland, up until 1969, there was no such thing as secondary education. Once you finished school at 14, there was no state school system. You had to pay for it. So that meant that, or you went to the Christian Brothers, and not very many people wanted to go to the Christian Brothers. So he left school when he was 12, and when he was 14 years old, he ran away from home. And he got a ferry. He stowed away on a ferry to get over to the UK. He went to England, and he did all sorts of jobs. But then he eventually went to the Merchant Marine, and he decided, after going around the world several times, where am I going to stay? So he thought Los Angeles. This was the late 50s, early 60s. Los Angeles was a much different place. So he decided he was going to stay there, but he didn't have a penny in his pocket. And he was homeless. He was homeless, living on the streets of Los Angeles. But a year after being there, he owned his own pub. Talk about the American dream. He came to America, was living on the streets, and a year later, on Van Nuys Boulevard, he owned his own pub that he called Ireland's 32. It's still there to this day. He doesn't own it anymore. I looked up online just recently to see if it was still there, and it was voted as the #1 dive bar in Los Angeles. So maybe that's his claim to success. The #1 dive bar in Los Angeles. So he met my mom there, and then I was born. I was born in Los Angeles, and when I was born, they moved back to Ireland. And he bought a pub on the street that he grew up on. And he's a great golfer, and he called it Pebble Beach Pub. And that pub was a lifelong dream of his, to come back to where he grew up, in the street that he grew up on, and have that pub. So one night, well, I grew up in that pub. I grew up in that pub and a pub we had afterwards. And I would come home every day after school and I'd do my homework sitting in the pub, and the locals, they were all my pals. They'd sit down with me and talk to me about their stories, about their life, and I really got to understand people growing up in that pub atmosphere. Because leadership is about what? It's about people. It's always about people. So I feel that everything I needed to know about leadership, I learned in an Irish pub. And it sounds flippant, it sounds silly, but really, everything I needed to know about leadership was in an Irish pub, because I learned about people. And at midnight, right before closing time in an Irish pub, where else are you going to find the human condition laid bare other than at midnight in an Irish pub? You're laughing, you're drinking, you're crying, you're fighting, you're singing, you're doing it all. You really get to know people. So I was about 6 years old, and we had this pub, and we lived right beside it. And I remember waking up in the middle of the night. My dad, he was picking me up out of bed. He grabbed me and brought me downstairs, and I looked down. It's funny the things you remember when you're 6 years old, but I looked down at his feet. He was wearing a pair of slacks, a pair of pants. He had his pajama top on, and his feet were bare, but they were black with dirt, and they were bloody, with blood coming out of the soles of his feet. And he carried me downstairs to the front, to the pavement. And I remember it was cold. It was in a winter's night, so the biting air, and the pavement was filled with water. It was wet. And I could see the reflections of the fire trucks right there as I looked down on the pavement. And I look up, and fire trucks are there, and I could see the reflection of fire coming from somewhere. And I look around, and there's fire coming out of the windows in our little pub. And what had happened was my dad, he heard some noise in the bar coming from somewhere. So he got up in the middle of the night and put his pants on, and he runs out, and he sees two guys wearing balaclava masks and camouflage jackets jumping over the wall of the yard in the back of the pub. So he jumps over the wall, and he goes running down the street after them to try and catch him. What he was going to do in his bare feet with pajamas on after he caught two guys throwing firebombs at the place, I don't know. But he didn't catch them when he came back. So the people who had done that was the IRA, the Irish Republican Army. They had tried to extort money from my dad, because my grandfather was in the old IRA back in the 1919, 1921. So they came to my dad to try and get money from him. He said no. So they went to the locals, and they said, don't go there. If you go there, we're going to come to you and we're going to get you. The locals still came. They went to the people who worked in the pub, tried to threaten them, and they still came. Because my dad said, you're terrorists, you're thugs. We're not going to bow down to you. We don't back down to that type of thing. And it was devastating to them because this was his dream. But he said, I'm not going to allow this to change our future. I'm not going to allow this to ruin my dream. So he built it back even better than what it was before. And it's not something that we talked about in my life as I was growing up, but it wasn't until I was older that I realized that changed the trajectory of our life. Because then we bought another pub somewhere else, and eventually we came back to America. I was 18 years old when we came back. But that example of resilience from my father, it stayed with me forever. That if my dad could go through that, then, my gosh, I could do it. I could learn resilience. If he can do it, then I can do it. And I would never want to let him down. So just that example, it informed a lot of who I became as I grew up. So we came over to the States, and I wanted to go to university, but we didn't have the money. I couldn't afford to go to college. You know, when I came over to the States, I didn't know the names of any university. I went to school in Dublin, came over. My mom says, you need to go to university. I says, okay. So I only applied to the universities I had heard of: Harvard, Yale, MIT, Brown. I wish I was in the admissions office when they got my admissions paperwork, just to see the laughters in the room. So of course I didn't get in. So I got into Barry University down in Miami, and that's where I was going to go. But we couldn't afford it. So one day my dad, he was playing golf with a retired Air Force guy, and he comes home and he says, hey, what do you think about the Air Force Academy? I said, what's that? He said, I don't know. You go and you learn how to fly planes, and they give you a degree. I said, geez, that sounds great. So the next day, we're living in Palm Beach, West Palm Beach. Next day, I go down to the Air Force recruiting station on Southern Boulevard in West Palm Beach, and there's literally a line out the door. There's a line, like they're queuing up to go into a Disneyland ride, which I think what the Air Force is. It's like a Disneyland ride for 20 years now. So I hate queues, hate them, can't stand it. So I look next door, and it's the Navy recruiting station, and there's nobody in there. It is empty. It's crickets. You can see the tumbleweeds going across the floor. So I go in because I don't want to stand in line, and I say, hey, do you fellas have a Navy academy? And they say, man, we got a sucker here. Come down, son. Sit down here. Let me tell you about the Navy. So I got excited about the Navy. I really did. And I ended up enlisting with the idea of trying to get an education, get the Navy to pay for it, which I think Embry Riddle does a really good job at educating our veterans. How many veterans do we have here amongst our graduates? That's fantastic. Holy cow. How about active duty? Any active duty? Man, that is awesome. Awesome. Chancellor, thank you for your service to our military. Thank you. I love it. So I joined up and I went to submarines. I was a radioman on submarines. And every year I applied to a different program, commissioning programs, college programs, you name it, and I get turned down every year. So on my 21st birthday, my last year of eligibility, I get a letter from the Secretary of the Navy that says, congratulations, you have a Secretary of the Navy nomination to go to the Academy. Oh my God, this is great. I was in Kings Bay, Georgia on a submarine day. But then in February, I get a letter from the Academy saying, psych, your high school grades are so bad, there's no way you are coming to this prestigious institution. So my division officer, a fellow named Brooks Clark, comes up to me and he says, hey, if I get you an interview then, will you go? And I said, sir, they don't give interviews. He says, I know they don't, but if I get you one, will you go? I said, sir, but no. I mean, I just wrecked my car, which I did. I just wrecked my car. Little red Toyota Paseo. Don't ever buy one. They're awful. I don't even think they make them anymore. But he said, I don't care. Rent a car, go up there. If I get you an interview, it's an order, you're going to go. So they did. I don't know how they got me an interview, because the Naval Academy only does applications on paper. So I rented this teal green Ford Mustang 5.0. Remember what they looked like back in 1992, these boxy looking things? It had a white convertible top with a white leather interior. Don't ask me why I rented that particular one, but I did. And I drove from Kings Bay all the way up to Annapolis. Wore my dress blues, my Cracker Jacks, and I go into Leahy Hall, which is the Office of Admissions. And the lady behind the counter says, who are you? And I said, I'm here for an interview. She says, we don't do interviews. And I said, I know, I told them that. And she says, well, where are you from? And I said, I'm from Ireland. She says, no, where are you stationed? I said, I'm from the USS Kentucky. She says, oh, you're that guy. So she says, go and talk to this professor over in this place. Go talk to this professor and then come back here. So I did. I talked to them about math and a few other subjects. And they said, you'll be fine, don't worry. And then I come back to admissions building and the lady at the front desk says, go in the hall, sit there on this bench in the hallway. And I did. And then down the steps came this captain, Navy captain, wearing his dress blues. And he sat on the bench beside me and we talked for about 15 minutes. He said, you sure you want to come here? And I said, yes, sir. I want to come here all my life. I'd only heard about it a couple of years beforehand. I said, I want to come here all my life, ever since I was a baby in Ireland. And he said, well, you know, we get a lot of young fellas that come here and they miss their paycheck, and they miss their freedom, and they end up quitting. Is that going to be you? I said, no, sir. He said, I'll tell you what, I'm going to take a chance on you. I'll see you back here in July. Sir? I'll see you back here in July. It was like all my birthdays came at once. My life in that moment changed forever. Nobody in my family had ever been to college before. Nobody on my father's side. Nobody on my mother's side. When I say nobody, I mean nobody. No cousins, no uncles, no aunts, nobody. I was going to be the first person in my family to ever graduate from college. And to do it from the United States Naval Academy, holy cow. What a privilege. What an honor. But it was all because of Lieutenant Brooks Clark, who lifted me up and allowed me to be something that I didn't think I was capable of being. And all of us sitting here today, whether you're family members, whether you're about to graduate, all of us have been lifted up at some point in our life to be better than we thought we were possible. We don't do anything by ourselves. If you think you're going through life by yourself, then you're going through life with your eyes closed. You're not understanding and not recognizing the people around you that love you, that bring you to the place where you can reach your fullest potential. So I had this wonderful career, an amazing career. I flew helicopters. I had command of a helicopter squadron. We deployed. It was great. And then we went to Belgium. I was working for NATO. Working for NATO, you know what NATO stands for? Nothing after 2 o'clock. It's pretty true. But it was a wonderful experience. It really was. And we found out, myself and Jen, we were going to this Belgian abbey called West Belletri. It was ranked, and they make their own beer, and it was ranked as the #1 beer in the world. The only place you can get it is at the abbey. And they only give you 2 crates every 60 days. They take down your name, your number, and it was crazy. It's easier to go to Fort Knox and get gold out of it than it is to get beer from this abbey, but it's wonderful. So we were driving on our way there, and I get a phone call and found out that I was selected to be the commanding officer of NAS Pensacola. Holy cow, what a privilege to come back where it all started, to come to the cradle of naval aviation. So we did. We came here, and we lived on just down the road there, this big old white house that overlooks the bluff right beside Fort Barrancas, built in 1906, overlooks the bay, gorgeous. And I got to do some pretty amazing things. I got to fly with the Blue Angels when I was here. And we have a former Thunderbird pilot here. And flying with the Blues, I learned actually quite a bit during that day that I flew with them. I worked with them a lot because they used my airfield, they used my facilities, and we worked closely, very, very closely together. And there's one thing the Blues do really, really, really well. It's trust. When you're flying 6 inches from each other, you've got to trust each other implicitly. Absolutely implicitly. There can't be a question about it. And any organization that you're a part of, trust is an absolutely essential ingredient of any organization working well. Trust is the sinew that holds that organization together. And when you don't have that trust, when you reach a crisis, you reach difficult times, that sinew becomes brittle and it breaks. And the organization breaks down. Bad things start happening when there's a lack of trust in an organization. You have fear, you have hostility, you have a toxicity in there. That trust is absolutely essential. And when we talk about trust, well, actually, before I get to trust, I got to tell you about when I flew with the Blues. So there's 3 things I learned when I flew with them. Number 1 was how beautiful it was up there. The color of those beautiful aircraft over that gorgeous Pensacola white beaches, it was just beautiful. The second thing was how much fun it was. I was laughing out loud in the cockpit. It was amazing. And the third thing was how exhausting it was. I passed out 4 times when I was up there. So the first 30 minutes, it was a 45-minute flight. I actually did an air show with them. I was in a slot aircraft. That's the one at the back there. And so, I look up, you can see the jets right in front of you. It was amazing. But about 30 minutes into, the guy I was flying with, Darryl, a Marine aviator, he says, "Hey, Skipper, we're about to do a high sustained high G, or a sustained high G turn here. So it's going to be about 45 seconds. You ready?" I said, "Yep, let's do it." He says, "Hit it." So I do the hit maneuver. I go, hit like this. 30 seconds into, I'm like, man, I'm Superman. I'm doing great. This is awesome. All of a sudden, I'm in bed. I'm cold. I'm trying to pull the sheets up over myself, and my hands are hitting these metal things. And then I open my eyes. I'm like, oh my God, I'm in a jet. What the hell happened to me? That happened to me 3 more times. I went home after that, and I slept for 4 hours. So kudos to you, sir. So trust. Trust is, when we talk about trust is a palpable thing. Trust is something that is absolutely measurable. Trust is not something that you measure by your gut. Trust is made up of, Stephen Covey says that trust is made out of character and competence. Character. If you find a wallet on the ground, are you going to pick it up and turn it in, or are you going to take the money out, put it in your pocket, and then turn it in? Competence. Can you do as many landings as you have takeoffs? Right? Can you land a plane as many times as you take off? If you can't, then you probably shouldn't be flying. So trust is made up of those 2 things, character and competence. And if you find that you're losing trust with somebody, ask yourself, is it because of character or competence? If it's because of character, for me, then we're probably done. We're probably not going to continue that relationship. If it's because of competence, well, we can remediate. We can work with you to get you where you need to be. If I ask you, did you do this? Was this your fault? No, man, that wasn't me. That was her. She did that, and then this other guy told me how to do it. It's like, we're done. We're done. Hey, was this your fault? Yeah, it was my fault. I didn't do the procedures right. It was my bad. Okay, let's take a step back. Let's work. So why are you losing that trust? And how do you gain that trust? Think about character and competence. But the third thing that Covey doesn't talk about is consistency. With trust, it's one thing for trust just to have those qualities, but if you're like this, like a sine wave, then that creates fear within your organization. So trust has to have a consistency to it. There's nothing worse than a boss that you go one day and tell them some bad news, and they're like, oh, that's okay, we'll take care of it. And the next day you go and give them some bad news, and they're screaming you out of the office. That breeds a fear. I know we've all worked with those folks. So that consistency is really, really important. So I talk about trust because of what I'm about to talk to and how important that was, and how important building trust was. When I first got to NAS Pensacola, I didn't want me to worry about trust or build that trust the first time I see somebody in a crisis. So the first thing I did was to go out to the people in town, talk to the sheriff, talk to the county administrators, the county commissioners, the mayor, and try and build that trust between them. Because I knew bad things were going to happen. And when they did, I wanted to have that relationship with them. So everyone remembers 2020, right? That annus horribilis, as Queen Elizabeth would call it. It was a year that we all went through, and all of us had our own struggles. All of us had our own crises, our own personal crises, and our own tragedies that we went through that year. My 2020 started on December 6th, here in the base, in that house that I just talked about. It was about 6:30 in the morning. I get up and try to get the kids out of bed. They're in a bunk bed just across the hall from us. And they wouldn't get out of bed. I play really bad guitar. So I grab the guitar and I start strumming it. Get out of bed. And so then they get out of bed. And right as they do that, my phone rings. We're at 6:47. My phone rings and I pick it up, and that's my security officer, Steve Pensacola. And I ask him, I said, "What's up, Steve?" He says, "Skipper, we have an active shooter situation on building 633. We have one confirmed killed, several wounded, and our officers are on the scene right now. You'll see some Navy police officers walk around and says police across. So this is those same folks, those Navy police officers that arrived on scene." So I said, "Roger that, keep me updated. Is there anything else we know?" He said, "No, Skipper, we're still working." I said, "Where's building 633? He said, "Skipper, it's where all the naval aviators go through, where they start their training." And I should have known that immediately. That is it. Building 633 is the absolute nexus of all of naval aviation. Anybody who's anybody, everybody, all the famous people that have flown these planes around here, they all started in building 633. John Glenn, John McCain, Neil Armstrong, Shepard, Buzz Aldrin, they all started in that building. So that building has a massive meaning for us in naval aviation. So I said, "Okay," and I put the phone down. I was in my shorts and t-shirt, and I wanted to run from there, and I wanted to run right to the scene, but I knew that that was the worst thing that I could do. Because if I go there, now they're worried about me as well as worrying about the shooter. And I would add to the problem instead of subtracting from it. So, and I knew that I was going to be on news cameras that day. I knew that I was going to be probably wearing the same clothes for I didn't know how long. We didn't know how many shooters there were. I didn't know when I was going to get back. And I knew most of all that I had to be the captain that my people needed me to be. I couldn't be some idiot running around in shorts and t-shirt barking orders. I had to look like the person they expected me to look like and act like the person they expected me to act like in that moment. So I went to the bathroom and I started shaving, and that act of shaving slowed everything down. It allowed me to think about what I had to do for that day. I went and put my flight suit on, grabbed my boots, made sure I had my cover in my floor mat pocket. And I went downstairs to the kitchen where Jen was there with the kids, with the two boys. And they're getting ready to go to school, arguing over the maple syrup for the waffles. Jen was cooking something on the stove, and she was burning some sausage. I was kidding, she doesn't burn anything. Jen does not burn things. And I grabbed her by the elbow and I said, because I only wanted to say this once, I said, "Jen, we've got an active shooter." She said, "What?" I said, "We have an active shooter, building 633. I gotta go. I don't know when I'm going to be back." She said, "What should we do with the kids?" I said, "Keep them at home." And she knew that, but we had to talk about it. So keep them at home. We didn't want them getting the questions, and the base was getting shut down, and we needed to stay close that day. The family needed to stay close. They're going to see me on television, all the rest of it. So she wanted to keep them close. So I walked out the door after putting my boots on, and the police cruiser was there with Ken Tillman, who's our deputy chief of police. And right then I realized I never kissed him goodbye. So again, we didn't know what we were walking into. So I went back, kissed him, and told him about all I loved him, and walked to face the day. Right then I called my admiral to let him know. I was a couple of minutes late. I should have called him earlier, but I called him and I said, his name is Gary Mays, and he's in Jacksonville. He said, "Hey, Lucky, what's up?" He said, "Admiral, we have an active shooter situation, building 633, one confirmed killed, several wounded. Our police are responding, and we have local law enforcement are on their way." And he said, "Roger that. What do you need?" He said, "Nothing right now, sir. We're working it." I said, "Okay. Keep me updated. I will take care of senior leadership, and I'll let folks in DC know. You don't need to worry about that." I said, "Thank you, sir." I put the phone down. That short conversation, about 30 seconds, was one of the most important conversations of my life. Because what he did was that trust that I talked about, that was a conversation full of trust. It wasn't, "I need you to do this. Make sure you're doing that." It was, "What do you need? How can I help you? You've got this, but I'm here to help you. And secondly, keep me informed. Not call me every hour on the hour. Not make sure you do this, make sure you do that. It's just keep me informed, which I did because he knew how to do that anyway. But that was his way of expressing his trust that you've got this stuff. You go out and you do what you got to do. So I went to our emergency operations center, started fighting the problem from there. And once the shooter was neutralized, which he was by an Escambia County Sheriff's deputy, I had to go and walk the scene. So I had to walk through the building to turn it over to the FBI. And as we were driving there, my Master Chief, Command Master Chief, was driving me. And a couple of weeks later, he said to me, Skipper, I remember when we were driving there, and you had this white look on your face. It was like a 1,000-yard stare. You were looking out the windscreen. I said, what were you thinking about? And I remember exactly, I remember to this day, like it was yesterday. I was trying to prepare myself to be the leader that my people needed. I was trying to prepare myself mentally to walk through that space and not break down and not crawl in a corner and cry like I wanted to do on the inside. I had to figure out who it was that I needed to be in order to support my people and show them the leadership that they needed so desperately in that moment. So we went and I walked through the building, and I did my best to do that. And then when we walked out, one of our police officers, a fellow named Ben Muniz, came up to me and he put both his hands on my shoulders and he said, Skipper, we'll follow you anywhere. You lead, we'll follow you through the gates of hell. What he didn't realize what he was doing in that moment was he was leading me. He was giving me something that I desperately needed to hear to keep me going. And I was giving them something that they needed. Him telling me that meant that whatever I was doing was working. Because in any organization, leadership is not just from the top. Leadership is everywhere. It's 360 degrees. It comes from the bottom, it comes from the sides, it comes from the top, it comes everywhere. In a well-run organization, an organization that works well together, there's no such thing as top-down leadership. Yeah, there's somebody at the top to give guidance, to give direction, but leadership is coming from everywhere. You're leading your peers, you're leading your boss, you're leading the people under you. And when that is happening, that's when the magic really happens in an organization. So that was a big lesson for me, just being the leader that your people needed. Because what is leadership? It's all about people. People, people, people. I was up at Harvard about 2 years ago going through a course on leadership, and they said that leadership is getting people to do something they'd rather not do. I thought that was the biggest load of baloney I'd ever heard in my life. I was arguing with the professor that was up there, because that's not what leadership is about. If you're in a high-performing team, it took you leadership to get there. Do any of you wonderful graduates, do you want to be here? Do you not want to be here? No, but it still requires leadership for you to do what you're doing, right? With any work that you're in, if this place is working, all cylinders are firing, it still requires leadership to maintain that, to keep it going. In my view, leadership is creating the environment that allows the people and the organization to reach their fullest potential, whatever that environment is. You, sir, might need a kick in the butt. You, ma'am, might need an arm around the shoulder. The back quarter over there might need to get fired. Hopefully they don't. But it's whatever is required to get the organization operating at its fullest potential. That's what leadership is, giving whatever it is. And it's not culture. Culture is part of it. It's also the environment. The environment is where you work, how you work. You're giving your people the things that they need. So after the shooting, then what happened? Of course, COVID. And COVID happened. We have 60,000 students a year that go through our base. 60,000 students a year. There's 340,000 people in the Navy, and about 60,000 of them a year come through here. So this base is absolutely critical to how the Navy operates. This base stops, the Navy comes to a grinding halt. So we had to figure out a way to make that work. Out of the 60,000 people that came through in 2020, less than 1% contracted COVID. It was something that we were really proud of, but it took a lot of work to do it. And then we had a lot of tragic things happen during that year. The commanding officer of the Aviation Schools Command, he lost his life with his co-pilot in an aviation accident just down the road. That's something else that we had. When all these things build on one another, when you're going through crisis after crisis after crisis, it's like you're getting body blows, one after the other. And then in September, there was this thing called Hurricane Sally. Anybody here go through Hurricane Sally? Anybody? Yeah? Yeah? A few people? Okay. Hurricane Sally was not a very nice person. So Hurricane Sally was supposed to go to the left. And the day before, she just said, nope, we're going to go right. And because of that, we didn't fly any aircraft out. We didn't evacuate any of the students. So we still had about 10,000 students in barracks. We had about 80 aircraft that were still here on the base that we had to hangar. So we did that, and we hunkered down. We did everything we could to prepare for Sally. And when Sally came, I'd heard about this before, but I'd never experienced it. Myself and Jen, we went to bed. Kids are in bed. And it was like a train going over the house. The house was shaking. Our bed was banging off the wall. I mean, just rattling off the wall for all the wrong reasons. I wish it was for something else. It was literally banging. So we get up and we are trying to, we're repairing broken windows with wooden boxes. There's water coming down through the walls. There's all the screens getting ripped off. The house beside us, there was a micro tornado that went by right beside us. And there's a couple with 2 young girls living in that house. This house was built in about the 1870s. And the parents heard this banging coming from upstairs. So they go upstairs to the room where the 2 daughters are. And they're huddled up together in the same bed. And the mom saw the roof getting lifted up, slammed back down, lifted up, slammed back down. So she grabs the 2 girls, runs downstairs. And right then, the entire roof got ripped off the house and then thrown on the back side of the house. So it was a rough day. That next morning when I got up, it was like, I just walked out, we were up all night. It was like seeing your best friend battered, bruised, and broken. There was trees down everywhere, there were roofs off houses. But we had to figure out how to get the base back up and running. And I learned a lot about people during that time. I learned a lot about love. People with trees through their houses, with cars turned upside down, they still came into work because we had 10,000 students that needed to be fed. They still came in. They came in their droves to make sure that the space was going to operate, to make sure that the trees were getting picked up and everything else. Love is something that we don't talk a lot about. And I think now more than ever in our history, it's something that we need to understand and something to talk about. I'll read you a quote, and I want you to guess who said this. I don't necessarily have to like my players and associates, but as a leader, I must love them. Love is loyalty. Love is teamwork. Love respects the dignity of the individual. This is the strength of any organization. Who do you think said that? Shout it out. Anyone. I bet you won't get it. I'll tell you who. Oh, that's pretty good. But it was the other end of the spectrum for Woody Guthrie. It was Vince Lombardi. Vince Lombardi. And he said that in about 1963, in a time when football was at the height of machismo, when men certainly didn't talk about love, and someone like Vince Lombardi certainly didn't talk about love. But if he knew that in 1963, working with these guys, why can't we talk about it now? Why can't we talk about the importance of love? And I'm not talking about the Romeo and Juliet love. That's the one that'll get you fired. It's the love of dignity, the love of respect. And that love is something that I experienced on this base more than anywhere I had ever done before. Because I love the people that I work with. I absolutely love them. Even the ones that stood in front of me for captain's mast and I had to kick them out of the Navy, I still love them. And everything that was done through the lens of love. But I found we had to move off base, and I was driving to get the house fixed, and I was driving back onto base down Perdido Key. Sun is rising. You know, U2 song One, right? Great song. One is on the radio. And all these things were happening, one after the other, after the other, after the other. And it was like, honestly, like somebody was punching me in the face. And I'd never been able to really reconcile all the things that had happened. And as I'm driving into work, I just started crying. I started crying because I wasn't looking after myself. I was loving the people there, but I wasn't loving myself. I wasn't giving myself any grace. Because all of us, each one of you here has a little bucket of joy. Some are bigger, some are smaller. And you have to know where that joy comes from. Where does your joy come from? Ask yourself right now, where does your joy come from? And I don't mean your spouse, and I don't mean your kids. I mean you. Where does your joy come from? Where do you fill your soul? Where is it? Because if you don't know where your joy comes from, when your bucket is empty and you go into a crisis, you're going to break. If you're in a crisis and you know where that joy comes from, how to fill your soul again, then you know you can fill it and get ready for the next one. I had gone through crisis after crisis after crisis without even attempting to understand where my joy was. It was probably empty to begin with. And I was giving, and not doing anything for myself. And by the way, there's a difference between happiness and joy. Happiness is a reaction. Joy is a choice. Joy is a choice that you allow into your life. You have to choose it. Happiness is when my wife said I could get a brand new set of golf clubs. Joy is when I hit a 4-iron 2 inches from the hole. Happiness is when I bought that 1988 Porsche 911 convertible, Venetian blue, camel leather interior that I regret selling to this day. That's the opposite of happiness. But joy is when I'm driving in the Blue Ridge Mountains and I hit a curve and I downshift and I hit the accelerator. Whereas I'm coming out of the curve and I feel the back of the two wheels just hugging the ground and my whole frame sinks into the seat and you can feel it in your bones. That's joy. But you have to choose that. Where does your joy come from? And I don't mean waiting every year to go to the Bahamas for a holiday. That's just waiting for external factors to try and help you. And when you're there, you're probably not going to enjoy it because you're so miserable the rest of the time. Joy is something you choose to allow into your life every single day. When you're walking outside and you see the wind rushing through the trees, when you see that osprey, its face is full of screaming, bringing food to its babies. Just little things in your life that you find a little joy in. It's a choice. Joy is a choice. Because if you are not 100% with yourself, then you're not going to be 100% for your people. You're certainly not going to be 100% for your family because you're going to work and giving a lot, and then you come back to your family and you're already depleted. So I was probably 40% right with myself, which means I was probably giving 30% to my people at work, and I got 10% left for my family. It's not right for my kids. It's not right for my wife. It's not right for the people that I work with. So I had to do better myself. I had to find that joy and where it comes from. So leadership that I talk about here, it's more than telling people what to do. Leadership is about trust. It's about character. It's about love. It's about authenticity. So I'm going to give you, I told you you get all these books and they give you the 5 steps to leadership. Well, I'm going to give you 5 steps to leadership. But these are things that work for me. It might not work for you. You've got to come up with your own 5. Don't use mine. Number 1, know yourself. Know who you are and be positive about it. My dad, before I went to boot camp, he said, stay away from complainers. That was one piece of advice. Stay away from complainers. That stayed with me my entire life. Every time the kids go to school, to this day, we say to them, stay away from complainers. Complainers want to drag you down. You be the positivity that brings everybody up. Find your joy. You've got to know where it comes from. You've got to know how your soul is going to be refilled. Lead through the passion, or lead through the prism of love. When you lead through the prism of love, everything that you do will be right. Even if you don't have the outcome that you wanted, it will still be right and it will still build trust because your people will know that you're doing it for the right reasons. When you start doing things for yourself, that's when bad things happen. Any Navy folks in here? Yeah, you know, in the Navy times, about every other month, some skipper's getting fired. It's because they do things for themselves. They don't lead through the prism of love. They lead through their own prism. They either choose to take keys and get a DUI, or they choose to slap some poor junior officer in the face, or they choose that Romeo and Juliet love with their sailors instead of the love that we're talking about. Be who they need. Who do your people need? What is it that they need? And create that environment that allows them to reach their fullest potential. And the last thing I'll tell you, no matter what happens, no matter where you are, no matter how bad things happen, just take a beat. Take a moment. Give yourself some perspective. Because you know what's going to happen tomorrow? The sun's still going to rise. It's still going to be a beautiful day. Thank you very much.
What an incredible message, and I think very inspirational for everyone. And there's a lot out of that that we can all learn from and take away from. So with that, we would like to present you with our Speakers Award from Embry Riddle for giving us such a great message.
Thank you, Captain Kinsella. Thank you for the inspiring words and acknowledgement of our veterans and active duty members. Embry Riddle is a longtime supporter of military as a point of pride. In fact, Embry Riddle has received top ranking by U.S. News and World Report's best online bachelor's degree programs for veterans for nearly a decade. Many of our graduates here today are veterans in active duty. You will know who they are as they cross the stage because they'll be wearing a blue stole. Will they, and all members of the military and veterans who are here today, please stand to be recognized. Thank you for your sacrifice. Please be seated. At this time, the faculty of Embry Riddle Aeronautical University Worldwide are pleased to present the candidates for graduate degrees. As we announce our master's degree candidates, they will receive their respective hoods by the college. College Dean. While all hoods reflect the Embry Riddle School colors of royal blue and gold, the colors of the satin binding on the hoods are different. Each color distinguishes one degree from another. From the College of Arts and Sciences, gold hoods denote graduates earning Master of Science in Occupational Safety Management degree. From the College of Aviation, silver hoods denote graduates earning the following degrees: Masters of Science in Aeronautics, Masters of Science in Aviation and Aerospace Sustainability, and Masters of Science in Cybersecurity Management and Policy. Under the auspices of the College of Aviation, the School of Engineering is represented by the orange hoods, denoting graduates earning Master's degree of Systems and Engineering degree. From the College of Business, drab hoods denote graduates earning the following degrees: Masters of Business, Administration and Aviation, Masters of Science in Engineering Management, Masters of Science in Information Security and Assurance, Masters of Science in Leadership, Masters of Science in Logistics and Supply Chain Management, and Masters of Science in Project Management. Several graduates will be wearing gold medallions. These master's degree candidates are graduating with distinction as they have achieved a grade point average of 4.0 for the entirety of their program. As a group, will these students stand to be recognized? Thank you. Please be seated. At this time, I would like to invite Dr. Alexander Dieslock, Dean of the College of Arts and Sciences, to come to the podium.
It is my honor to present the candidate for the College of Arts and Sciences Master's degree as recommended by the faculty.
This begins the candidates for the degree of Master of Science in Occupational Safety Management. Savannah Arasani. This concludes the presentation of master's degrees from the College of Arts and Sciences.
At this time, I would like to invite Dr. Ken Witcher, Dean for the College of Aviation, to come up to the podium.
Will the candidates for master's degrees from the College of Aviation please rise? Dr. Wattret, it is my honor to present the candidates for the College of Aviation master's degrees as recommended by the faculty.
This begins the candidates for the degree of Master of Science in Aeronautics. Ryan M. Moore, with distinction. Shauna Marie Van This begins the candidates for the degree of Master of Science in Aviation and Aerospace Sustainability. Bethany Marie Thompson, with distinction. This begins the candidates for the degree of Master of Science in Cybersecurity Management and Policy. Pari Jacqueline Harmon. This begins the candidates for the degree of Master of Systems Engineering. Kumbiz Ekbal. William David Hitt. This concludes the presentation of master's degrees from the College of Aviation.
At this time, I invite Dr. Manish Sharma, Dean for the College of Business, to come to the podium.
Will the candidates for master's degrees from the College of Business please rise? Dr. Watrat. It is my honor to present the candidates for the College of Business master's degrees as recommended by faculty.
This begins the candidates for the degree of Master of Business Administration in Aviation. Lorenzo Lamar Bruton. Andrea Dupre. Nicholas Anthony Mays, Sr. This begins the candidates for the degree of Master of Science in Engineering Management. Corey James Plattman, with distinction. This begins the candidates for the degree of Master of Science in Information Security and Assurance. Simon Asua, Jr. This begins the candidates for the degree of Master of Science in Leadership. Chandima Ashan Correa, with distinction. Brandy Kunkel, with distinction. Alicia S. Schramm, with distinction. This begins the candidates for the degree of Master of Science in Logistics and Supply Chain Management. Jessica Lynn Love. This begins the candidates for the degree of Master of Science in Project Management. Stephen T. Heflin, with distinction. Samantha Lynn Sumner, with distinction. James Gordon Vaughn. This concludes the presentation of master's degrees from the College of Business. This also concludes the presentation of master's degrees.
Congratulations to all master's degree candidates. Regarding the undergraduate degrees candidates here today, You would notice a number of them wearing honor cords. The significance of these honor cords is directly connected to academic performance. Those graduates who are wearing white cords have achieved a grade point average between 3.5 and 3.69 and graduate cum laude with honors. As a group, will these students please stand and be recognized? Thank you. Please be seated. Those graduates who are wearing red cords have achieved a grade point average between 3.7 and 3.89 and have graduated magna cum laude with great honors. As a group, will these students please stand and be recognized? Thank you. Please be seated. Those graduates who are wearing gold cords have achieved a grade point average between 3.9 and 4.0 and graduate summa cum laude with highest honors. As a group, will these students please stand and be recognized? Thank you. Please be seated. Dr. Zieslag, would you please come to the podium to present undergraduate candidates from the College of Arts and Sciences?
Will the candidate for the bachelor's degree from the College of Arts and Sciences please rise? Dr. Boutret, it is my honor to present the candidate for the College of Arts and Sciences bachelor degree as recommended by faculty.
This begins the candidates for the degree of Bachelor of Science in Interdisciplinary Studies. Lauren Rosenhuver, cum laude. This concludes the undergraduate degrees from the College of Arts and Sciences.
Dr. Witcher, will you please come to the podium to present the undergraduate candidates from the College of Aviation?
Will the candidates for bachelor's and associate's degrees from the College of Aviation please rise? Yeah. Dr. Boutret, it is my honor to present the candidates for the College of Aviation's bachelor's and associate's degrees as recommended by the faculty.
This begins the candidates for the degree of Bachelor of Science in Aeronautics. Olivia Denise Anderson. Michael Roy Conniff. Hainsworth Lyndon Daly, Jr. Oscarine Diaz, summa cum laude. James Matthew Dupuy, summa cum laude. Nathan Dale Haney, magna cum laude. Vincent Alexander Holbrook, Sr., magna cum laude, Alpha Sigma Lambda. Vincent Alexander Holbrook, II.
Matthew Jacobson. Michael Edward McCann. William Pyron McAvoy, magna cum laude. Christopher James Ryder, Jr. Alex Anthony Richardson, magna cum laude. Chance William Sheik, cum laude. Julius Edward Smith. Joseph Wayne Starling, summa cum laude, Alpha Sigma Lambda. Mark Stevens. Ryan Tavares. Jordan Tello. This begins the candidates for the degree of Bachelor of Science in Aviation Maintenance. Robert Espinoza, magna cum laude. Christian Alexander Wunderlich. This begins the candidates for the degree of Bachelor of Science in Uncrewed Systems Applications. Anthony Elijah Griffin. This begins the candidates for the degree of Bachelor of Science in Engineering. Jessica Ann Salinas, cum laude. This begins the candidates for the degree of Associate of Science in Aeronautics. Ingrid Carolina Aragon Aguilar. Josiah Moyse. Michael C. Theobald, Alpha Sigma Lambda. This concludes the undergraduate degrees from the College of Aviation.
Dr. Sharma, will you please come up to the podium to present undergraduate candidates from the College of Business?
Thank you, Henry. Will the candidates for bachelor's degrees from the College of Business please rise? Dr. Watret, it is my honor to present the candidates for the College of Business degrees, bachelor's degrees as recommended by the faculty.
This begins the candidates for the degree of Bachelor of Science in Leadership. Patrick Dwayne Thomas, summa cum laude, Alpha Sigma Lambda. This begins the candidates for the degree of Bachelor of Science in Logistics and Supply Chain Management. Jaquan Samuel McCrae. This begins the candidates for degree of Bachelor of Science in Project Management. Anthony Hawkins, cum laude. Will Juntre Russell. This begins the candidates for the degree of Bachelor of Science in Technical Management. Jason Robert Edwards, summa cum laude. Roxanne A. Hare. Melissa Jordan. This concludes the undergraduate degrees from the College of Business. This also concludes the presentation of undergraduate degrees.
We have now arrived at the moment we have all been waiting for. Will all the graduating candidates from the colleges please rise and remain standing? Dr. Watret, these candidates have completed all the requirements associated with their degree programs. With the faculty recommendation with the recommendations of the faculty of Embry Riddle Aeronautical University, I am pleased to present them to you for the conferring of degrees.
This is the moment. So, by the authority vested in me by the Board of Trustees, I hereby confer on you, as appropriate, the Master of Science degree, the Master's degree, the Bachelor of Science degree, and the Associate of Science degree, with all rights, privileges, honors, and responsibilities appertaining thereto. Congratulations, graduates. You may now move your tassel to the left side of your mortarboard, symbolizing your new status as a graduate of Embry Riddle Aeronautical University. Congratulations.
Ladies and gentlemen, please stand for the singing of our alma mater by the Embry Riddle Aeronautical University a cappellas. The words are on the last page of your program.
People gather here. We lift our voices loud and clear, soaring high, O alma mater, threads of blue and gold. United we soar in vast open skies. Every riddle we hail thee, great memories will hold. So here's to you, O the RAU, alma mater true. We pledge in love and harmony our loyalty to you. Singing thy praise, remembering the days, coast to coast around the world are one forever true, embracing our dreams with pride far and wide. Every riddle we hail thee, great memories will hold. So here's to you, all the RAU, alma mater true. We pledge in love and harmony our loyalty to you.
We are delighted that all of you could be here today to share in this special occasion. Please remain standing as Mr. Pippin offers the closing benediction.
Well, graduates, you did it. Congratulations. I'm reminded of a story from 2015 that kind of encapsulates the message we heard here today. I first met Ozzy and Harriet in 2015, thank you to social media. Ozzy and Harriet were preparing their house for the arrival of 2 young babies. See, those that don't know Ozzy and Harriet, they are eagles that have nests down in southern Florida. And every night, I would hear the update of how those eggs were cared for and taken care of by mom and dad. And then mom and dad would take care of them and feed them and teach them all the things they needed. A lot like what you heard today. You're not doing it on your own. There's a lot of support and a lot of love and trust. And then came that fateful day 12 weeks later. I came home, and mom is sitting on the couch, bawling her eyes out because mom and dad, Harriet and Ozzy, had thrown the eaglets from the nest. It's called fledging, and it's necessary. So today, eagles, we are fledging you. We are throwing you from the nest that you may grow and go soar to new heights and do great things for your alma mater. Congratulations. Now, as we leave this place, may the eternal love enfold us. May spiritual power strengthen us. And may strong hands comfort us. And may we be carried on eagle's wings until we meet again. Amen.
Family and friends, please be seated. This concludes the commencement ceremony this afternoon. We ask that you remain seated until the platform party, faculty, and all graduates have exited. Thank you.